Hey guys, Trail Chasers here. Today we're doing something a little different. This is going to be Maintenance Mondays, and this is just us going through a regular job at Earl's Bike Shop in Bellingham. I do want to take a moment to thank them for allowing me to film this job for you guys. Today's a pretty simple job, just a hub adjustment and cable replacement on the Schwinn. I was a little concerned when I saw the word Schwinn on the side of it, but popping that wheel off, saw it was Wheelsmith, and the bearings were still in decent condition on that one, so all went as planned on this job. Anyways, with any job I like to start just by running the bike through everything, checking the adjustments that are already on it, and it looks like this one's been worked at by another shop before. All the brakes were in proper adjustment as far as pad contact and things like that. So we'll get the wheel out of the bike here and get that set aside. Afterwards, we'll just go through and do a basic check through on the bike, make sure all the bolts are tightened down and everything's torqued properly. So here you can see me checking out the cranks. We'll also check the pedals really quick here with a pedal wrench, make sure everything's good to go. And I'll also go ahead and check the QR tightness, make sure that front wheel's spinning true as well, and the pad contact for the brakes. Like I said, this one looks like it's been worked on by another shop, so didn't see any glaring issues and proceeded on with the job. Anyways, now that we got the wheel out of the bike, the first thing that we're going to do is take that freewheel off of the drive side. That way we have access to both cups and cones so that we can properly adjust the hub. It's as simple as just unthreading that guy and popping the wheel off. Afterwards, we'll go ahead and set our axle clamps in the vise, and we will get that wheel set in the vise here really quick. We'll grab a 17 millimeter open end crescent and a 15 millimeter flat wrench. I will adjust the hub. This one actually, I'm glad I took that freewheel off because it had a loose cone. So we'll get that snugged up really quick, see where the hub's at, give it a quick little spin. I know I wasn't happy with that first adjustment, so back in the vise it goes. We'll do a readjust on that really quick here, loosen that top lock nut, adjust our cone, and then snug it all back down. Pop it off. I like to put my hand on the back side of the axle to apply some pressure, give it a little wiggle, check for any play, and make sure there's none. So with that hub spinning smooth, we'll get that put back on, and we'll get the wheel back in the bike here. Do a quick clean with a wire brush, blow it out with an air gun, throw some grease on the threads of the freewheel here, and then we'll get that threaded back onto the wheel. The nice thing about a freewheel is they do self-tighten, so even if this isn't super tight, when I get it on there in the vise, once it's on the bike and we go take it out for a test ride and pedal it around, everything will be tightened back down. But I do like to give them a good snug before I put it back in the bike. With the wheel back in the bike, I can now check the adjustment on that rear brake once I rehook the line here. And we'll just make sure that the pads are contacting well, cable's running free, and the brakes are working good. The next steps to get the old cable out of the shifter pod. This one had actually snapped in the shifter pod, so I had to use a pick to fish out the old cable head, and you can see that there. We'll go put that in the metal recycling bin, and we'll get the old cables off here as well. I'll set the housing behind me in the order that I pulled it off on my bench, just so that it's easy to remember which cable piece goes where. And then we'll go ahead and take them over to our little cable center, and we will cut some new lines for it. The old ones are pretty gummed up, so it's definitely a good time to replace the housing since we're doing the inner cable anyways. Afterwards, I'll go ahead and press on some end caps to those guys. I also like opening up the inner with a pick just to make sure when we put that fresh cable in there, it's going to run nice and smooth. Drop of oil doesn't hurt either on that tri-flow. So once we got all these cable outers prepped here, we'll get those set back on the bike, and we will run a new inner cable through that shifter pod and get everything hooked up here. Now that we got that inner cable ran through the frame, what I like to do is grab a fourth hand tool and just apply some pressure to make sure all the cable ends are seated, so that way when I'm out there doing my adjustments it doesn't come undone on me because the cable's seated. So we'll get that snugged up for now, and then we'll actually take the derailleur off the bike here so that I can check the hanger alignment. It looks pretty good, but I do just want to pop a tool on really quick and make sure it's all good to go. So we'll pop that guy on. And I like to use the valve as a reference point on the wheel. Even though this one is pretty true, I just think it's good practice to make sure you're taking the same reference point each time when you're doing your hanger alignment so that you know it's good. Now that we know that the hanger is in good alignment, I can take the tool back off, pop our derailleur on here. I'll loosen that cable and check our high limit. And then once I've got that high limit checked, I will tighten that cable back down, snip it short, and we will crimp on a ferrule. At this point I'll start going through the gears, but when I get up to that low I like to slow down just so I don't shove it off into the spokes in case the low limit's out of adjustment. And I will go ahead and walk around to the back of the bike and I'll check out that low limit, and I'll also put my palm against the derailleur and push it just to see where that low limit's sitting. Like I said, this one does look like it's been worked on by another shop. That low limit was already set perfect, so no need to touch that. And then we'll run it through the gears here and just make sure everything's functioning as it should. I like to press on the derailleur as well just to check the limits without cable tension so I can make sure it's not going to hop off for the customer at any point in time. And once I'm happy with how it's all indexed, we'll go ahead and put some lubrication on the pivots of the derailleur. We will clean off our chain here, and we'll put on a little bit of chain lube. After I lube the chain, I do like to wipe it down again with a rag just to make sure we're getting off any excess so it's not going to get on the braking tracks or things like that. And with that, all we have left to do is take the bike out for a test ride, ensure it's hitting all the gears and that there's no skipping or odd noises, and this bike is ready to go. Anyways, I want to thank you guys for watching, and I want to thank Earl's Bike Shop for allowing me to do this. If you guys are interested in seeing more of this in the future, please let me know. Anyways, I'll catch you guys out on the trails. Bye-bye.